This is Superset Man, and you guys that have been following me since the beginning know that after the Olympia we gotta do this. It's a tradition. How would Ronnie Coleman, the best bodybuilder of all time, have looked on this year's Olympia stage next to the top guys? I also had Arnold on the classic physique stage. If you missed that video, check out description for the link. Front double biceps, and sometimes the current lineup gives Ronnie a run for his money, but in 2022 the king is destroying all these guys. Now, the top 3 guys are all shorter guys that probably would never be able to defeat Ronnie when Ronnie is on. And by the way, this is 03 Ronnie, his most dominant version. Brandon, Ramy and Samson on the other hand would have better chances standing next to the king, but neither of them was really on, hence the placings. Ronnie wins this first pose without even breaking a sweat against the 2022 lineup. But the real question is, will he lose any pose outside of the side triceps and the abs and thighs, his only weaker poses? Let's see if the 2022 lineup can steal more than 2 poses from the king. Front lat spread. First, if you're wondering about the sizing of Ronnie, yes, he may look a bit too tall in this one, but check out his legs in comparison to the other guys. He stands straight, he stands tall. That being said, Ronnie schools these 2022 guys again in the front lat spread as well. He's bigger than Ramy and Samson, he's at least as conditioned as Hadi, Derek and Nick, and also fuller than Brandon Curry. Ronnie Coleman domination. Side chest pose, and Ronnie Coleman gets even more dominant pose by pose, and we haven't got to the back poses yet. Now normally Big Ramy would definitely challenge Ronnie in this pose, and I know that you Colemanites are unable to face it when Ronnie actually gets challenged or even defeated in the pose, but in my opinion Prime Ramy can defeat Ronnie Coleman in this pose, but here we're not talking about Prime Big Ramy unfortunately. Other than Ramy, as good as Brandon or Nick would look in the side chest, they could never stand a chance against the king when he's on, of course. Ronnie Coleman easily wins another pose again against these guys. Back double biceps guys. Back double biceps. Is there any debate here? And yes, I already can see the comments. Oh, Superset Man, this comparison doesn't make sense. This is an insult to Ronnie. It's not, okay? This is made for fun, for those of you who can enjoy things and appreciate great editing. So if you don't like it, get out. Now, talking to the audience that knows what common sense is, Ronnie is not invincible, he is the best to ever do it, but I can name a few bodybuilders that can push him pretty hard, like Prime Dorian, Prime Jay, Prime Phil and Kai, but unfortunately none of these 2022 guys can come close to the ones I just mentioned, especially from the back. Ronnie Coleman has arguably the best back double biceps of all time, and in no way, shape or form he could get challenged by this lineup. Back lat spread, and for this other back pose, we have pretty much the same story. Ronnie is just too good top to bottom. He even has the best calves in this lineup, a muscle group he got criticized for, if you can believe that. However, Big Ramy has, or at least had, the potential to challenge Ronnie in this pose. And again, don't act like this is exact science. Different people can judge this in different ways, and honestly I can see some judges going for Big Ramy here. Again, if this was a Prime Ramy without visible weaknesses and injuries. But while there can be people who would go with Ramy, Ronnie is still the big favorite to run away with the pose. For sure. So Ronnie Coleman already won all 5 poses till this point. He already won the 2022 Olympia, but let's see his weaker poses now. First, the side triceps. It's funny that besides having a weak triceps, Ronnie always had a weak execution of this pose as well. It's like he didn't care about it. But I have also seen Ronnie nailing the execution sometimes. Back to what we have here, as Ronnie looks in this particular shot, he could lose the pose to all these guys. They all seem to be doing a better job than him in this pose, but taking other things into consideration as well, like conditioning for example, I would put Ronnie 4th probably, above Brandon, Ramy and Samson. But all these 3 guys look better than him in this pose from a shape point of view. The only other weaker pose for Ronnie Coleman is the abs and thighs, but let's face it, he doesn't look all that bad here. Probably only Hadi and Derek would edge him out in this pose, but if you guys remember the 2004 Olympia challenge round, Ronnie defeated Dexter Jackson in the eyes of the judges in this pose, and 0-4 Dexter would win the abs and thighs against the 2022 lineup in my opinion. Ronnie definitely has the best quads, is not even close, but I wouldn't go that far of saying he wins this pose here. He takes third at most. The last pose is the most muscular, and first of all, this one can fool you because the 4 guys in the left are way ahead of the line. They were supposed to stay behind when I noticed that during the live footage. Back to the pose, the only thing we can get away from Ronnie here is the midsection probably. And if you want to make him lose the most muscular because of that, I'm fine with it. But in spite of that, of the midsection, Ronnie dominates again. And I didn't even add a crap version of his most muscular here, which would definitely have put the argument to rest. In conclusion, like I said in the beginning, the 2022 lineup was able to defeat Ronnie in only 2 poses, or rather Ronnie only lost 2 poses. The poses he almost every time loses, his weaker ones, the side triceps and the abs and thighs. So there isn't any surprise here. 2003 Ronnie Coleman is too much for the 2022 lineup, but in their defense, this would happen almost with every lineup in history of the Olympia. We're talking about the best bodybuilder at his most dominant physique. Let me know in the comments below who else you want to see on the 2022 Olympia stage next to the top 6. Like this video, subscribe, and see you next time.